So I recently beat this game, a difficult game about climbing, in about 7 hours. Created by Pontypants. Thank you, Pontypants. Inspired by Bennett Foley, my endlessly supportive wife Vivian, and thank you for your suffering. I mean, took me 7 hours. The end. And, well, that's if you don't count the first 3 hours where I was admittedly drunk out of my mind. I'm really drunk now. And so the first thing I thought after beating the game was like, damn, that was pretty easy. I felt like getting the hang of getting over it, and Jump King was way harder. The mechanics of this game were just way more conducive to safer gameplay and not falling all that much. But there are some parts that are actually difficult. So in this video, I will teach you the techniques and tricks that one needs to know if they are to beat this game. Okay, and before we begin, there are two main ways you can beat the game, or play it at least. First is with mouse and keyboard, where the mouse controls the hands and the keyboard decides if you go up or down. And the second is a controller. I myself prefer the mouse because I just feel like I have way more control over what the character is doing. But some people have reported that they get like cramps, and if that's your case, then I would really suggest picking up the controller. It just mouse felt way more natural for me since I've never been really a controller player. And without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So, as you can see at the start of the game is just a bunch of climbing, and to be honest, everything you need to know in this part is just control your arms, move with the character. It's kind of simple, you know? There are maybe a few long reaches, but for the rest it's kind of easy. One thing you do need to know though is that every bush you can see, so in this game there are a few types of them, and anything bushy is completely grabbable, so those blue leaves you're seeing here, you can grab a hold of them. Okay, and here we can see the first technique in action. It is a simple forward, backward, upward swing. So basically you move your mouse in this case, because we are using the mouse, first slightly forwards, slightly backwards, and now for the jump, we don't swing back to the right, we only swing our mouse upwards. You can also obviously use the keyboard key, but I felt like the mouse just gave way more control. And so that's the first part where you will be needing the big jump. There are a few more sections in the game where the jump will be needed, and this is the first real place where you can actually practice it. For the rest, here we come in the second section. This section is kind of marked by moving water that basically drags away your hand every time you grab into it, as is seen right now. Just remember, for this part you can also grab bushes, and that will be really handy. Here we can also instantly see the second technique in motion. This is basically a straight lunge up, and then while your hand is at the peak of its reach, then you decide where you want to grab with your lunging arm, which basically translates to more times up and left or up and right. And with this you should be able to literally grab onto any hold in the game. I would also suggest using the lunge and the jump very sparingly. Almost every single grab you can do in the game is completely possible by just reaching to the extended most point of rock and then grabbing as far as you can. There is almost no need to use the jump nor the lunge. Only when I say so will these techniques be needed. Here we can see an obvious example for where the lunge is needed. Now we come to the third part. This is a way more technical part than the last two, which were kind of a cakewalk. And as you can see here, obviously the jump is needed. Then we come on to the spinning platforms. This basically translates to grab one of the holds and extend your arm as far as possible onto the holds. These spinning platforms are also quite easy. They are super slow and you have all the time you need. For the fast spinning platform, I would suggest using the right hand to reach up and instantly going up and grabbing, and I guarantee 100% of the time you will have grabbed the platform. As for the next section, just go on, and even in this part, you literally don't need a jump. Just grab. Jumping here is unnecessary risk that I would never take. Unless you like starting over, of course. And here, and only here, is a third place where you will be needing the jump. The first one is the rock, the second one is the pillars, and here is the third place. This is the fourth location, and as you can see, forward, backward, reach. That's all there is to it. Do not overcomplicate this step, it is literally easy. Okay, this is one of the very first swinging jumps. For the swinging jumps, I would suggest never using the jumping technique. Only using the swinging motion is more than enough to make every grab in the rest of the game. And as you can see, except for the swing to the dress, literally every clothing piece is able to be swung to without jumping. Do not take these unnecessary risks, they will result in time loss, or just you having to restart. Here we come to the fourth section, and here it's basically climbing up the wall, and these are all lunges, straight up, then choose a direction. Here we have a little jump where you just let go, it's quite easy to be honest. And here we have one of the very first, I call these rubber surfaces. These are mostly all red, and literally it is impossible to let go of. These things all have zero friction, which means as long as you're holding the button, you can literally never let go of these. And here another example of grabbing leaves coming in handy. Now for this wheel, there's two ways to do it, but for me the more consistent one is grabbing hold of it, then deciding a direction, and then just lunging upward with the arm at the top. What you could also do is, of course, swinging it until you get launched to the top, but I feel like this is just way less consistent. Here you have a few more examples of the lunge. Straight up, choose a direction. It's pretty easy. Then of course, we climb up the rope. Easy peasy. And this next section is what I would call the most difficult, puzzle section. And this is one of two sections that I would call actually difficult parts of the game, where it takes a little bit of practice to get used to it. Basically, you have to swing the rebar up and down. Is it rebar? I don't know. Basically, you have to swing this big red metal beam up and down. You can do this by hanging in the middle of it and then going left to right. You don't have to go all the way to the middle, that's just waste of time. As long as you go all the way to the end and then slightly to the middle of it, you will get enough momentum to eventually grab the hook. As you can see here, I failed a bit, but that's not a problem. And then we've reached the fifth section. This section can be quite technical, but to be honest, it's one of the easier sections. As you can see in the video, I'm always doing this jumping motion for this, but literally every one of these grabs can be done by just swinging back and forth. If you just take the time, just like I'm showing now, every of these can be done with just reaching. Jumping is literally not necessary. Take your time and it will all be clear. On this part you might need a little speed, but to be honest, if you have done the spinning section, then this should be quite easy. And then we climb the rocks and the ladder and we arrive at the next section. This is what people would call the most difficult part of the game. And it is only difficult because they do not understand the jumping motion. It is very easy. For every jump, just use the jumping technique we talked about earlier. Forward, backward, up. And it is literally the same for all 3 of these jumps. It's just forward, backward, up. It's super easy and you don't need to worry about the landing because, as I said earlier, it's a red rubber surface and it has 100% grip. You can literally not fall. These lamps are the same, by the way, which is quite rare, but these are all 100% grip grabs. Here you will need a little jump, which is also forward, backward, and then up. But as you see, the wall is in the way, so you won't have as much momentum. That's not a problem though, since it's such a short leap. I would also suggest never letting go of the first hand unless you're 100% sure that the second hand has hit its mark. Unless of course you're doing a jump, but this will save you a lot of time resetting since you won't have any falls. For every single grab where you can do a reach, holding the first place and the second place at the same time is possible. This just makes sure that you never fall. This is one of the final places where you will be needing the long jump. The mushrooms you can see here are slippery, so I would suggest not grabbing them or you fall back all the way down to the bottom. Then you do a little leap. I don't think this even needs to be a jump until you've reached the last checkpoint. Here the only important things to know are that the ice is slippery, but it can be grabbed onto. This is a long jump, but an alternate route is that you can go up to the rock to the right and do a lunge. Here is a lunge, but a very easy one. Here is a max range lunge almost up. This here is a small jump. After this is the final actual difficult section, which is the ice slide. Here you will grab onto the ice and basically drag yourself over while sliding down. If you did 2 grabs, then you should be able to reach the rock easily. Here is another lunge. Note that the rock is extended slightly to the left, so it's easier to grab. Here is another jump. It should be pretty easy by this point. If you've done the hardest section down there, then all these jumps should be very easy. Another jump, not even a question. As you can see, the holes are getting smaller and smaller, so making sure that you've actually grabbed where you want to grab is of utmost importance. Here you can see the final actual jump that you will be needing for the game. Once you're past this straight rock section, it is literally impossible to fall. Every fall you make from this point on, you can literally save by just holding both buttons and you will be stopped at that barrier. And then here a few more lunges and then you will naturally reach the end of the run. Before you get there though, there will be one more final obstacle, and this is a swing. And I repeat, it's a swing. This means you do not need any jumping motion. It's just left, right, until you feel like you have enough momentum. And then you can just let go and it will naturally launch you to the other side of the canyon. And here it'll tell you you're finished, but you're not. You can keep going. And once you've reached the first cloud, it should be smooth sailing the whole way. Here is a small jump, and this is the importance of the jump. I've seen some streamers, I won't name any, fail this jump because they didn't realize the jump mechanics early on in the game.
Party, no!
And once you've reached the ladder, congratulations, you've done it. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe if you found it helpful. I'm currently streaming Pogo Stuck on Twitch and punishing myself for every time I fell. It has been a very painful thing already. If you think you'll enjoy that type of stuff, come and join me there. Bye bye.